Hello, psoriasis healing warriors around the world. Matt here, having another Healing Warrior live on your Saturday morning. How's everybody doing? Everybody get a nice stretch in this morning? You doing your 6 steps, your daily routine, morning routine. That's how skills build. That's how practice builds. Just routine, routine, routine. That's how I look at a natural healing practice. It's just the practice equals skills plus capacity. So I'm adding in these healing skills, and I'm also increasing my capacity on the skills that I already have, and then I'm working on refining. So we do that through routine. Gotta get loose here. This is funny. I'll wait for maybe some more people to show up, but I'll show you the picture of. I have a picture of myself here. This is found this morning by random chance. That's me in 8th grade on the Carwise Sharks, the terrifying middle school basketball team that I was on. Came across that this morning, and it was cool. The Shark just so happened to be our mascot that year for that school. Shark's my spirit animal. It's just my animal. So that's cool. Anyways, nostalgia. Oh, the memories. Right. Yes. So welcome to Healing Warrior Live here in Psoriasis Healing Warriors Tribe, our awesome, powerful Facebook group full of thousands and thousands of powerful warriors that are in there helping each other and trying to get this chaotic thing figured out, how we're going to go about battling it, how we're going to go about building our practice and sticking with it. And, I'm so happy we have a space to come together and talk about natural healing specifically, right? I mean, sure, there's the pharmaceutical treatments and drugs out there. We've all been through that. That's not important. That's what's important that I love that we get to focus on here. That I feel is important is the practice, the natural healing approach. You developing your approach at home that you carry out, irrelevant to the doctors or the consultants or your family or your friends or your influences or regardless of all the people in the world, you are working on a practice here that you carry out, that you don't rely on anybody else for. You add skills into, you increase capacity in, but more so you develop an empowering existence to go after this psoriasis thing and remove, strip away any parts of the victim aspect and start to replace those with the warrior in life. So, transcends healing psoriasis. That's what I found in the last 7 years is even though I went into a natural healing practice to help get psoriasis out of my life, which certainly I realized I had a big role to play, it also transcends into how I do everything else in my life, how I treat myself, how I treat others. I mean, everything's been laid out on the table on this journey, and it's all for the better. So it's not, don't look at this as a drudgery. Oh gosh, this is one more thing I have to do. Now I have to add, somehow I have to add more time in my day to do all these diet stuff. Just kind of consider this more so a transition in your life. Consider it a paradigm shift in your life. If you consider it that way, it'll help you stay more at peace in each moment you're going through this, instead of trying to encapsulate what this is going to be and how long it's going to take and how many months do I have to do this, and how long until I can have a cocktail again with my friends, and just put all that aside. If you want to go have a cocktail with your friends, go have a cocktail with your friends. This is not about stripping anything from life that we enjoy. But we have to look at it as this is a temple that you're building here. You're starting with one block on the ground, you're leveling the surface. This is going to take a long time. This is a long project. And if you accept that fact, it'll help you stay more calm in the moment, so you're not trying to force or speed things up too fast. Because in reality, as we're going to talk about today with the healing crisis, the reality is such that when the body goes into healing, it starts to go deep into detoxification and elimination. And during this detoxification process, this elimination process, there's going to be all kinds of symptoms going on. That's why it's called a crisis. That's why it's a healing crisis. You're making these efforts. You're changing your life for the better. You're doing these good things for the body. So why in the heck are things getting worse? I mean, it's a crazy mind screw. And it's like the ultimate challenge there, because, it's how can I be adding these good things in and things are getting worse? We'll talk about the crisis, and I'll kind of go through my experience with what I've been through in the three different phases. But that's one main reason why you have to look at this healing psoriasis naturally, or however you're looking at it as building a practice, is something that you're putting together over a long period of time. I got my chlorophyll water here. It's just purified water. Drop in a few squirts of liquid chlorophyll that I have in the fridge, and then I drop in some drops of zinc, liquid zinc sulfate. That's what I mean when I say an alkaline water. I'm talking about alkaline water as far as alkaline forming. So it's not so much the pH. Don't get locked into the pH of the water being the basis of the alkaline versus acid. It's more so when I say alkaline water, it's alkaline forming. It knocks out acidic problems in the body. So in that sense, when you're knocking out bad acids, sort of being alkaline forming. That link I just posted there in the notes is my article that I keep on my healing crisis experience. So I'll kind of go through that as a backbone of just to list out some of the different symptoms I've noticed. There's also a link to a document which originally really helped me understand the healing crisis. I'm going to post that as well. I put that into a Google Doc. So that's the link directly to the Google Doc. Now that there is a white paper by, the second link there is a white paper by Dr. Walter Last, and he was writing about his experience with patients that were experiencing a period or episode or ongoing cycles of symptoms that would come about. Some symptoms that were similar to what they were already facing, other symptoms that weren't similar, that were very different, that were symptoms that patients hadn't ever seen before. And so he wrote a paper of these healing crises, this healing crisis experience. So he's actually where I got the phrase from. That's called the healing crisis, the road to better health. It's a very quick read, only 6 pages, and talking about skin reactions, talking about the Hersheimer response or the Hersheimer reaction. Hersheimer is a name of another doctor who, as you could tell, probably was witnessing this as well. So this is back in a very progressive time in medicine. This is back right at turn of century. Walter Last, middle of the 1900s. Right in the middle there, he was doing his work. This is before, we started medicating ourselves with pharmaceutical treatments pretty much, 90% of the time. It was more so a spectrum of people going towards other healers, other doctors who were very holistic, functional, integrative. And I see that trend coming around now, which is great. More doctors are integrative and functional, whole approach to the patient. That's all that doctoring used to be for centuries, for millennia, was functional from top to bottom, stripping out things in the diet, stripping out things in the lifestyle that were causing the illness. And that goes way back to Hippocrates' basis for treating patients. Just to use food as medicine, do no further harm, and to make sure the patient is willing to give up the lifestyle that made them sick before you treat them, aka make sure the patient is ready for your advice. And that's something I've come across too, helping people. Sometimes people, she's not ready yet, and that's cool. I wasn't ready I had Pagano's book for 5 years. I wasn't ready to do anything about myself for just because I had his book. It was actually scaring me even more. Pagano's book Healing Psoriasis was scaring me because I wasn't ready, and I was frightened by all the effort. So, but that's the main premise, though, with functional treatment and is to make sure that the patient is ready to give up a lifestyle, and that takes a lot of work. So this healing crisis white paper and some other papers from doctors at the time were about these. They were trying to document on a more wide scale all these symptoms patients were experiencing and going through, so that other practitioners could have this to help patients understand that symptoms typically were getting worse before anything got better. So in psoriasis, when the symptoms are already on the skin, it seems in my experience that these healing crisis symptoms also show up on the skin. But they're not only limited to the skin. There's a lot of internal symptoms that can come about. As many of you work on the basis of it here, as I do, this is an internal issue. Psoriasis is not a skin disorder in the sense that it's rooted in the gut. It's rooted in the bowel. It's rooted in the poor liver function. It's rooted in poor kidney function. It's rooted in a tired pancreas and all these other digestive organs who have just been overrun by modern diet and high stress. And it's a multitude, because the body works in totality. The endocrine, the glands, the adrenal glands, the pituitary gland, the thyroid, all is intertwined with the digestive system and digestive organs. Our nervous system runs the whole shop, because that's what's connected to our brain and sends all these autonomic signals to make everything happen that we don't even have to think about. And, you have your lymphatic system, which not many people even talk about. The lymphatic system is the sewer system. That's the most important system in healing and detoxification. And I really like to stress that with people. We talk about the lymphatic system the most, and we kind of do a quick definition, basically being the sewer system. Like I said, it's where all elimination happens. It's where all fighting of infection takes place. Not so much in the blood, it's in the lymph. The blood is where the supplies are coming in. Red blood cells are bringing in oxygen. Red blood cells are bringing in nutrients for the fight. They're trying to keep the cells healthy so they can renew themselves. The cells need to detoxify. They die, they detoxify, they eliminate waste. Each and every cell does. And they put that waste into the lymphatic stream. That lymph fluid makes up 75% of the fluid. Blood's 25%. So you're talking about a system that's 3 times bigger for elimination. So clearly the body has a genetic purpose for this lymphatic system. These systems all need to kind of come back online. And even beyond that, they need to go and you need to develop stronger digestive and elimination and lymphatic systems, cardiovascular, respiratory, over time. But all of these systems need to improve. And all these systems probably have issues going on, whether it's pathogenic infection or heavy metal residue or something that's causing an issue. Then you have symptoms. It's not just psoriasis. People have symptoms in the nervous system. We have what we think is chronic back pain. We have brain fog. We have chronic fatigue we're dealing with. We have ups and downs, peaks and valleys, fight or flight, adrenal fatigue. I'm sure many that are listening or going to listen to this can agree that psoriasis is not really a standalone issue. Typically, you have other issues going on. Typically, you have other symptoms that were coming about before the psoriasis that predated. I was dealing with chronic heartburn, acid reflux issues that precursored psoriasis. Then I got the infection, which blew up cystic acne on my face. So when the pathogen gets introduced to the weak body and the broken systems, it takes advantage. And then the body has to deal with these in a chronic situation, has symptoms going on from the pathogen's activity, from byproducts they're creating, endotoxins leaking into your gut and burning your gut wall up. This all needs to be corrected. So as the systems are being put back online, as the gut wall's being repaired and you're doing reconstruction there, now you're having to deal with any of the pathogens that have been hiding in there and taking advantage of the bad situation. Well, guess what? Pathogens don't like to die. This is what I've learned the hardest way possible on my journey, is that I know I'm up against pathogenic strep that I've had a long time before I ever had psoriasis that caused cystic acne first. I know I'm fighting this. They got into my bone during the knee surgery. It's deep, deep, deep in the body. So when someone asks me, well, Matt, how long is it going to take? Which is the question I get the most, and that's fair. I understand why. How long is it going to take? The answer I have is, well, it depends on, one, what you're dealing with, what kind of pathogenic brew or mixture you're dealing with. Do you have a viral strep? Do you have cofactoring going on? How deeply rooted in the body is it? That's the second question. Is it in your bones? Is it in your joints? Do you have psoriatic arthritis too, or rheumatoid arthritis too? Do you have deep cirrhosis of the liver? Is it deep in your liver? This is where pathogens go. They need nutrients too. So they're trying to hide and suck off nutrients that are collecting in the liver. They're eating old fats and rotting animal fats and anything they can find, refined sugars and alcohol, anything they can get their hands on that's easy. And so how deeply rooted is that? That's the second question to try and answer a how long hypothesis is. How deeply rooted is it? How advanced is it? How aggressive are pathogens? And then what else are you dealing with? What kind of environmental issues are you dealing with? That's another part of the answer. I don't know. Could your house have black mold? Could you be exposed to something at work that's a chemical or a plastic that's burning next to you that you're breathing in every day? Those are environmental aspects. And then the most important part of answering the how long question is what's your personality? What are you like? Where are you at on the spectrum of victim to warrior? Because if you if you need time to start developing a mindset, then it's going to take longer. Some people come in with a grizzled mindset. They're already in it, or they've come in with a grizzled mindset. They're that type of person. That's good and bad too. Grizzled, hardcore, intense mindsets usually generate stress, so that has to be looked at. So you see how this goes here. It's like, how long is this going to take? Well, the answer is multifaceted, multi-leveled, very dynamic and robust based on the type of person you are, how you treat yourself, what you're dealing with, and pathogenic activity, how advanced that is in your body, how deep it is in the body, how long it's been in the body. If you've had psoriasis symptoms for 20, 30 years, if you've had them since your childhood and they've been getting worse and worse, well, it's going to be a little bit of a longer road out, typically. It's not just how long you've had it, it's more so how deep is it. If I've worked with people that haven't had it that long, but it's just very aggressive. Their symptoms are very advanced. They have very severe psoriasis, dealing with very, very advanced pathogens. So it's a tougher fight. That's why the how long question is so arbitrary to answer. It's just you got to go in it. You got to jump into the experience. You got to jump on the path, and you have to start experiencing the healing crisis. And that's when you're up against your fear, anger, frustration, doubt, guilt, all comes into play, because you're going to make an effort here. You're going to go into this 2 weeks of celery juice, 3 weeks of lemon water, 4 weeks of probiotics, and your body's going to start getting stronger. And as it does that, it's going to start dealing with these pathogens that it hasn't been facing before, because it's too weak. And it's just dealing with the byproduct. It's just dealing with the endotoxin. And I think psoriasis is specifically a symptom of dealing with that endotoxin, that byproduct. Because there's different sets of symptoms when your body's actually fighting infection that I've been through that have nothing to do with psoriasis. So when you go into a crisis like this, let's say you're 6 weeks in, you've been following, you're doing your 6 steps, you've been doing your celery juice, which is a powerful medicine. That's another important thing. When you take more powerful medicines, you're going to have more severe responses, because you're going to have more die-off. More pathogens are going to be dying faster. Now, that probably will get you to the results you want quicker, but it's going to make the experience maybe a little rougher. So you have to understand that what you're putting fuel in the body, and you're resting, and you're fueling the body, and it starts to have these responses. It's very good to keep an open mind to the sense that, well, maybe this is a responsive die-off. Maybe this is a constructive detoxification response. Maybe this isn't just, oh, well, what am I eating now? What are my trigger foods that I just added or took away? It's really hard when you're trying to go at this with just isolating on a diet basis or foods basis, because it's very volatile right now. You're very weak going in. You're riddled with infection typically. You have some sort of environmental poison sitting somewhere in your body typically that needs to get removed. And now you're strengthening the body, so it's like it's an upheaval. It's a lot of chaos going on. And you're trying to, your gut bacteria is restoring and reorganizing. That's going to have some symptoms: gas and discomfort and bloating. And when you kill off pathogens, there's going to be a die-off response that's going to have gas, bloating, discomfort. Lemon water does this. So when people drink a powerful medicine like lemon water in the morning, start small because it's powerful. Start with 10 ounces, 1 squeeze of lemon. Celery juice, same thing. Start small. Start 10 ounces, just a half a batch of celery. Build yourself up slowly. Okay? That's why it's important, like I said earlier, to buy into this as a long-term endeavor, because then you'll go about it more slowly and more peacefully. You must go about this, and you cannot go about this the same way, the same mindset that got you into being sick and this mess. The mindset needs to be looked at. It needs to be constructively looked at and maybe adjusted. Possibly. This is part of the being ready spectrum. You have to make sure you treat yourself okay going through this process. You can't beat yourself through this process. You can't drag yourself through this process kicking and screaming. Because if you do that, the first time you run into a healing crisis, you're going to quit. You've been looking for a reason to quit when you have that mentality of kicking and dragging yourself through. Your mind's looking for a way out. And so, see, I've been doing this, for 2 weeks now, and now I'm having new spots. This is clearly not working. And you'll shut it down. They can't do that. Once you're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks into doing this, the body needs you now more than ever. You can't jump in and then quit. You have to keep some sort of spectrum going here. That's why it's good to start real slow. Just 1 step a day, 1 skill a week. Master that one skill, then add it in the next one. So master your water, become a master of your daily water intake. You have to correct chronic dehydration if you're dealing with that. If your body's dehydrated, there is no elimination going on. The lymphatic system has no fuel to run on, and cells can't eliminate. If your cells can't eliminate, psoriasis is just going to be this thing that you mitigate the rest of your life. We have to get full cell detoxification, and this could take a long time. And then, of course, you also have to knock down any type of pathogenic infection as best we can from the deepest parts of our body for some of us. For some of it's not so deep. And then, 6 months, 4 months, boom, it's cleared up. Psoriasis is cleared up. You stay on your practice a good bit to keep the pathogens in your body knocked down if they're still there. You keep making your body stronger. You keep eating foods that are fiber rich, that feed your gut bacteria, that keep you strong, that keep your immune system balanced. And psoriasis is gone. Now, there's much more severe. My case is very severe. It's been 7 years, 3 phases. I've cleared my skin. It's exploded again. And every time it's going deeper into the body. It always starts in the knee. It always starts in the jaw. And that's where I have deep traumas and deep infection. I know that because I've put those ticks on my chronological time chart. Your graph, your timeline. I've mentioned that in previous videos and all the time. Please document what you're going through here. Document your timeline. If you're starting into this and you're like, okay, I'm going to start switching my diet, I'm going to do all this stuff to heal. You got to look back in the past only to see where you're coming from and mark that down in your timeline. Any infections, any injuries, any accidents, over medications, over antibiotic treatments. Does that chart to the psoriasis, that strep infection you had? Oh yeah, psoriasis came on right after I left the hospital with antibiotics for that strep infection. That's all connected. Now you have a target. Now it's not just this, faceless beast known as psoriasis and autoimmune whatever. Now you have a target. You're like, now I'm going after the strep that's in my body that's still there. I'm going to try and knock that out and see what happens to the psoriasis. I think those dots are always connected. Because when you do go after the strep, you run into a healing crisis, depending on what kind of strep or what kind of bacteria or viruses you might be dealing with. You go into a crisis because your body has to knock the strep out now. Lemon water does that very well. Celery juice also does this. Probiotics, liquid probiotics, the good guy bacteria, they knock out pathogenic bacteria. And they also strip out resources that those pathogens might have been relying on because it's a resource battle for bacteria. They're consuming nutrients in your gut, in your bowel. And most of the time, the problem organ is the colon. And that's where the good bacteria are supposed to be living. That's where they're supposed to be. Most of them are in us. Billions and trillions of these bacterial cells that are beneficial, that produce short-chain fatty acids and metabolic enzymes and other nutrients that regulate immune response and immune function, which is what we're supposedly up against here, right? And some sort of over-immune response, which is what psoriasis is defined as. What's it responding to? Nobody knows until now. That's what I feel strongly. The immune system is responding to infection that it cannot clear out, so it's just chronically dealing with the byproduct, the endotoxin of the infection, of the bacteria, of the virus. Neurotoxin, mycotoxin, if there's a fungus in there that's aggressive. These are nasty, nasty toxins. So the skin, of course, if the liver is overwhelmed, is going to jump in and help the body get rid of these nasty toxins. And that can show up as pustules, it can show up as plaques, it can show up as rashes and ooze and clear fluid. If you've ever noticed the clear fluid that forms around the plaque or forms around the pustule, or when you're itchy, the clear fluid coming out, that's all lymphatic fluid. That's a fight going on. Is it a fight we're winning or is it a fight we're losing? That's what we're changing the script on in here. Now it's a fight we're winning, but it's still a fight, and there's still symptoms, and they're nasty. And the healing crisis can be nasty. That's why it's called a crisis. So usually, as far as the time frame, now I'm not saying everybody has to go through this either. I have noticed people who don't have a very serious crisis they go through. They change their diet, they change their lifestyle, they stop punishing themselves, they start eating whole fiber-rich plant foods, they stop eating so much processed crap, and they switch out the sodas and energy drinks and lattes for water and drinks that don't hurt them so bad, and sure enough, they clear up. That's great. And so that crisis is very small. Very small. So for those that have to go through, crises that go over a span of months and years, those are who I focus on the most, because I know it's so scary. I've been through it myself, and it's frightening. I work on not being afraid of the fear, but it is frightening. And when it came back after it cleared the first time and exploded all over the body, that was very frightening. So, this is a process that goes on. It goes on and on until the body is done. That's how I feel about it, until the body reaches homeostasis again, until the bacterial balance is good in the body again, the dysbiosis is corrected, you have more beneficial bacteria helping you than bad bacteria hurting you. And then you have to start clearing out the acute areas. And that's where I think my body is having to do the hardest work. And that's why the psoriasis will always explode back up. It's because I have an acute, deep infection in the knee. I can watch my body digging that out, because there's symptoms around that aren't like psoriasis symptoms. They're larger wounds that open up. There's some crusting of lymphatic fluid that comes out. Like acne type pustules I've had. That's a symptom I ask people of if they've had, is if you have acne or pustule type symptoms, or if you had cystic acne, that precursor to psoriasis, those are important marks on your timeline. If you deal with any kind of pustules, I think that's a sign of a more aggressive form of pathogen. That's because the body has to get that nasty toxin out so fast that it surrounds in that white fluid, the macrophage, and pushes it out in a pustule. So like a whitehead zit, or a pustule of that sense. So, if you're dealing with those, then you might be dealing with more aggressive form. I don't run into too many people that are dealing with pustules during the healing crisis. But, if you've had cystic acne in your life, if it was around a strep or a staph or a bacterial infection you had in the throat, those are connected too. So let me just run through the list real quick of other symptoms I've noticed. One thing about the healing crisis is that it's typically a much more itchy experience. The itchiness is more extreme. It's more systemic. That's lymphatic activity. That's your nerves and your lymph system, moving a lot of fluid through. That can be a very itchy process. It can be an itch that you just can't scratch. You can't find it. You're chasing it around your body. It itches here, then it itches down there, usually around the hips or the middle of the chest or around the ears, where your lymph nodes are. Those are your major nodes. The nodes hold toxins, so your nodes usually will swell. That's another symptom of the crisis, is you start to work on your healing and then you start to swell up. And you're like, why am I swelling up? You might feel it in your neck. You have nodes here, around the collarbone area. You might feel some swelling. In the hips and the pubic area. That's where my nodes got very large, because the biggest fight for me is in my lower legs and infection in my knee. So there's a lot of crap coming out through my hips to the kidneys. So all that lymphatic fluid's flowing to the kidneys to be filtered. So your kidneys are two organs that need to be nurtured and loved, and they need to be looked after, because they're going through a severe amount of work as you start to get healthy. As your lymphatic system starts to move, you can feel swelling. So your lymph nodes will hold those toxins as to not over poison and overtax your kidneys. So the nodes will swell and enlarge. Usually it doesn't cause pain, but if they push up against nerves, it can cause pain. And this can be misconstrued as musculoskeletal back pain. You could think that your vertebrae are out of alignment, or you could blame an old injury. Be careful to blame old injuries, because when you're dealing with infection, you're having swelling around the kidneys, because your kidneys are typically overworked. They can start to hurt. So your kidneys swell or your lymph nodes swell. They push up against nerves, and the nerves push against the bones, and that hurts. But that doesn't mean that it's your bones causing the nerve pain. It could be swelling of the nodes and swelling of the kidneys. Many times when people talk about chronic back pain, I ask them about their kidneys. They're like, my kidneys? So yeah, swollen nodes. Pay attention to those. Behind the ear, for a while, I had a lump behind my right ear as my scalp psoriasis was initially draining out. That's the major problem for me. It's all up in my jaw. Like I see as I go through another crisis I've had recently that's not on this list, is redness and inflammation in my jaw. And that's where the root canal infection was. That's where it started, really, was there. So I'll have redness in different areas. And I was worried that it's like, oh no, I have an inflamed, root in a tooth. I was very nervous about that. But I went to the dentist, got an x-ray as I got my teeth cleaning and everything checked out. And the sensitive red swelling in the gum started to calm down, and then it went away, and then it showed up on another tooth. My body's just working through infection that's been in there for who knows how long, 15, 20 years. This process takes time. Imagine excavating a pyramid. It's a good analogy. If you're excavating a pyramid, you're digging around in the sand in the middle of the desert, and there you go. You find the top of the pyramid, just the top. Now the excavation begins. That's how healing is in the body. Now we're unearthing all these issues that are deep, deep in the body. Not the bloodstream, not in your blood work. I'm not talking about blood work here. I'm talking about deep in the jaw, deep in the musculoskeletal, in the bone structure, and the nerves inside the bones, in the bone marrow. Pathogens get in there. They love it in there because that bone marrow is nutrient rich, and they can hide from the bloodstream, and antibiotics can't reach them, and the immune system can't reach them. So it's causing chronic inflammation out on the walls. The immune system's just kind of like banging on the walls, but it can't get in. That's what a root canal is. A root canal is a dead tooth sitting in your head that you cover with cement, put a crown on. If infection gets inside of there, that's like a high-rise apartment for it. It can live in there. There's no nerve. And the immune system knows it's there, so it will cause chronic inflammation around the area, dealing with the byproduct. It'll come out the skin, typically in the skin. Come out as rosacea. You'll have the butterflies. When you're dealing with sinus infections, chronic sinus infections in your life, and all of a sudden you have rosacea. How the heck did that happen? Oh, who knows? We do know. It's happening after years and years and years. Your body dealing with chronic infection, resident infection, that it's just trying to deal with congestion, snot, mucus. You might get chronic ear infections as a kid or as an adolescent, and now you have rosacea or psoriasis on the face or the scalp. This is connected. It's a crisis to get rid of it, but if you realize how long it took you to get into this mess, then you appreciate the fact that it's going to take you a while to get out of this mess. That will calm you down, keep you in the moment. So you stop pushing how fast, I got to get this done. How long is this going to take? How fast it's going to take? I've been doing celery juice for 2 weeks. Everything should be done. I should have all these results. Shh. You're just getting started. You just ran across the top of the pyramid in the desert. And now the excavation's beginning. The celery juice and the lemon water and the probiotics are your chisel, right? And your shovels and your tools. But you're digging away at what could be decades old problems, decades old, that are deeply rooted, that have been taking advantage of your weakness for forever and have the upper hand. You have the low ground. They have the high ground. And this is all about changing the tide. So swollen lymph nodes are part of that. Extreme itchiness is part of this lymph system waking up. Your body's waking up with the nutrients you're giving it. Now it's starting to tap into its genetics. It's starting to tap into its power. And the only thing that can stop you at this point is your mind, is your thinking about the process, is your analysis paralysis, as I call it. Just constant analysis of the process every day, every minute, every effort, everything. That's the only thing that can get in your way. Because if you, as I said earlier, if you look at this as a lifestyle paradigm shift, that'll help you buy into the process longer. And then you can just start building it into your life instead of trying to think about upheaving your life to make this natural healing practice work. No, it's more so about adding the practice into your life. Just another tool, another weapon in your kit, on your tool belt that you're adding in. And if you take the pressure off the timing of it all, how long is this going to take? If you give less concentration to that question, that rhetorical question, then you're going to be at more peace with the process. And you have to be at peace with the process to successfully navigate the healing crises that you're probably going to face. You can't go on, you can't drag yourself into those experiences, because if you do, like I said, you're just going to use them as excuses to quit. Your mind's looking for excuses to quit because this is hard. It's the hardest work you're ever going to do. So the mind's constantly, it doesn't want to give up its lifestyle. It doesn't want to give up any of this stuff. It doesn't have to. Just be compassionate and compromise with yourself. All right. Don't think about this in absolute terms. I'm never gonna be able to have a cocktail with my buddies again, or I'm never gonna be able to have a night out with my girls again. Yes, you can. Go out, have fun, do your thing. Don't feel guilty. Just know that when you come back home, that's your dojo. I mean, you gotta work, you gotta practice, you gotta have something going on at home that's making your life better and improving your health. You can't just be a victim here. You can't just be, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened to me. I'm unfortunate, or I can't believe this sucks. It does suck. But at the same time, you have to develop a mindset of, well, yeah, this sucks, but hey, I'm doing something about it here. And when you go into a healing crisis, I celebrate those, because that's the first sign that your efforts are paying off. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's the damn truth. As soon as your symptoms start getting worse, you are now facing the beast. The beast doesn't want to die. Infection doesn't want to die. Pathogens don't want to die. Viruses are advanced and smart. Bacteria, strep's advanced and smart. They've been learning from all the antibiotics we've been taking for the last 20, 30 years, 50, 60, 70 years. They evolve every 20 minutes. They got us figured out. The one thing they can't figure out is deep into the genetics is foods, herbs, certain wild foods and fruits, plant foods that knock them out. They're antiviral, antibacterial. They cannot overcome it. You cannot, virus dies if it interacts with coconut extract long enough. If you put it in a petri dish, the coconut extract wins every time. It's an antiviral from the beginning of evolutionary time when viruses were floating around to who knows when the world will end. But you can kill virus with with coconut substance or a, say, aromatic herb. They cannot overcome that. It's too potent, it stinks too much, it knocks them out. It forces them out. And when that stuff forces them out, they come into the lymphatic stream. Now, guess what? You're going to have symptoms of this. But guess what's the difference is? This is the big difference. Now that they've been forced out, now the immune system can get to the viral cells, to the bacterial cells. It can get the killer cells can get to them. So when they do get to them, start killing them off, well, now you're dealing with a die-off response. This is that Hersheimer reaction, that die-off response. That's going to cause a lot of symptoms, and they're going to be fast-moving symptoms because your lymph system is really, really fast. That's why you get over a common cold, in a matter of days. Your body, your immune system constructively destroys it, dominates it, especially if you're hydrated, especially if you're helping your body do it. You know, what a profound concept that you're the best teammate your body could ever ask for. That's part of the warrior's journey and experience, is that your mind, you are the ambassador of your body. It's a temple. You are the protector. You are the Templar. You are the protector of the body. Everything that goes in and out of it goes through you first, the observer. No more senseless, mindless stuffing of the face. If you're going to enjoy this or that, you're going to enjoy it, but you're going to be aware that you're enjoying it. Okay? And that's fine. But you're also developing an awareness around the sense that everything that goes in the body, everything that comes in contact with the body, everything environmentally, it matters. It really matters. And as long as these mystery illnesses are going to be up to us, the people, to figure out, then we have to be good scientists on our own accord, good studiers, good researchers, but most importantly, good field testers. We have to be out there, trial and error, trying things, making things work. And sticking with it long enough to understand that it's not so much the foods that are, kind of hurting us or helping us a little bit or triggering us or we're allergic to these foods. It's the fact that a lot of these plant foods, you start eating them, they knock out pathogens and your body's allergic to that response of the pathogen diet. It's not so much allergic to the food. I always pause people that a little bit. I think it's great to get a food allergy test done, get an idea, especially when the allergy test comes back 90% of the time and tells you to cut out the dairy and cut out the grains. Of course, stop eating anything that's especially conventional. That's anything that's coming in contact with high antibiotic usage or high glyphosate usage, pesticide, herbicide usage. You cannot put a bunch of that crap in the body and expect that it's not causing these mystery illnesses or has some role to play. You have to be the steward of the temple. Everything comes in and out of here. I'm walking my dog and there's 5 or 6 different pesticide companies in this neighborhood alone. 6 different companies. Every time I walk my dog, I have to walk by at least 2 or 3 trucks that are actively spraying into the wind that I'm smelling and breathing in and blowing all over my dog. That, to me, is, I have a skill now. Derail, different road, different route. I'm out of here. That stuff matters. Call me a conspiracy theorist in that aspect, but its stuff matters. And you have to be the steward of this stuff, and you have to understand that a crisis of detoxifying from these chemicals and infections is going to be a process. It's going to take a while. And this typically the same symptoms you experienced going into a chronic illness, you're going to see again on your way out. Almost in the same sense you saw them coming in. Like for me, the first skin issue I had before psoriasis was the cystic acne. Right now, in this phase of my healing crisis, my body's clearing stuff out of the jaw. Guess what? I have acne coming out again of my face. I haven't had acne symptoms since I was 19 years old. I never had acne symptoms during chronic psoriasis. I never popped one zit while I had chronic psoriasis for 10 years. Now, when I'm going through a healing crisis, all these pustules and pimps and zits and stuff, this is predating psoriasis, so I'm coming back out of the acne too. Everything must go. And as everything goes, everything has symptoms that involves with its exit, with it leaving. And that's what I hope to help warriors with, is to understand these symptoms, to understand, to welcome some of these crises symptoms. They could be hives. It could break out all over your body. It's absolutely mind-boggling. It can be very frightening, and I understand if you need to go to the hospital when you have a big breakout. I like to keep you in the sense that this could be part of it. I was scared to death when it broke out and covered my whole body. This is after it had cleared the first time. I thought I was screwed. It's easy to think that, but you're never screwed. Body's just continuing to work, and it needs you to continue to fuel it. And and the mind just needs to deal with this process. It needs to endure the process. There is no going back when you're months in, your years in. There's no going back. To me, there is no, oh, I wish I could get my old life back. I don't even know what that life was. This life is beautiful. It's a life based in effort and discipline and action, and no excuses. I mean, I have excuses. I have days where I'm like, screw it. I'm not doing anything today. And that's fine. But, it's really that you have to have access to a higher plateau in your mind. And the only keys to that are to take your own steps, have your own practice. And that will get you through the crisis. That will get you through these symptoms. You're going to have some lower back pain. You're going to be going through fatigue. If you dealt with old injuries in the past, you might feel those old injuries again as your body clears out infection that's been collecting around the scar tissue of the injury. That's a main place that pathogens love to go. They love to go live in scar tissue. They'll live in your old injuries. And we'll just think it's the old injury itself, when really you could do some yoga and heal your body and clear the infection. And guess what? All of a sudden you'll have the range of motion back in your shoulders and your hips. My right shoulder barely moved above my head because all the basketball shooting and tweaking of the shoulder. And I thought that was done for good. It's all back now. No pain in my hips anymore. No pain around my knees anymore. It's all gone. It's all part of the beauty of the process. It's all part of the beauty of the path. Psoriasis is still all over my body, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was at the worst days. It's just part of detoxification. Psoriasis is a symptom of detoxification, just like it's a symptom of the chronic situation. But it's not the target. The target is the infections. The targets are the microbes that are causing my problems. And the target is also my gut bacteria. Taking probiotics, eating prebiotic-rich, fiber-rich food, and restoring the health of my resident gut bacteria. So I have the upper hand. I have the high ground. And it's going to be really hard for pathogens that help cause psoriasis to come back and take root and get the upper hand from me. This is my stronghold. This body is my temple. If you want to know more, join my advanced group. We're going to be going after the healing crisis for each individual. You will have your master warrior story post. You will talk about your experiences, what you're going through in detoxification, and we will figure it out for each person. Check out phwarrior.com/advanced to jump on that email list, and you'll go start getting a skills email every day. I'll start you out, and every other day bring you along. And then you can join the Facebook group, and I'll be coming to you to talk about your one-on-one assessment one by one. We are going to figure this out. Together we are strong, and we can be the example, the trailblazers that all future generations can look at. So when they go through their healing crisis, they have a strong example to follow, so they will stick with their practice and they won't quit on themselves. Much love, mad respect, more healing warriors. This is Matt. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.